نور قلوبكم بذكر الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأطيعوا الله والرسول لعلكم ترحمون. وسارعوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها السماوات والأرض أعدت للمتقين الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاذمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين. والذين إذا فعلوا فاحشة أو ظلموا أنفسهم ذكروا الله فاستغفروا لذنوبهم ومن يغفر الذنوب إلا الله ولم يصروا على ما فعلوا وهم يعلمون. أولئك جزاؤهم مغفرة من ربهم وجنة تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ونعم أجر العاملين. قد خلت من قبلكم سنن فسيروا في الأرض فانظروا كيف كان عاقبة المكذبين. هذا بيان للناس وهدى وموعظة للمتقين. ولا تهينوا ولا تحزنوا وأنتم الأعلون إن كنتم مؤمنين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. الفاتحة بعد الصلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers, sisters. We welcome you all to our fourth night of our 2020 English Muharram program. Thank you, Brother Anwar, for another great Quran recitation. We will now be moving on to our lecture for tonight with Sheikh Abdulrahman Chirri. Before that, I would just like to say if anyone would like to sponsor any of our nights, please feel free to confront me after the event or email us at unitednetworkofislam@gmail.com. On behalf of tonight's sponsor, I ask that you all please recite Fatiha on the soul of Hajj Mustafa Hazimi. Allah yarhamu. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you all. Tonight's topic, Sheikh Chirri will be talking about anger. So please help me welcome him with a loud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله على رسوله المصطفى محمد خاتم النبيين، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا، ورحمة الله وبركاته. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your deeds and accept your attendance in these majalis, inshallah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue granting us the blessings of attending these majalis, and giving and receiving, inshallah. In continuing the story behind the hadith of the armies of the intellect and ignorance that began a few nights ago, a hadith by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, in which he describes that the human being lives in this world in a condition where he has a battle inside of him, an internal, spiritual, mental, existential battle. And this battle is between good and evil. Just like on the outside, we have good forces fighting bad forces. In the physical world, the human body, we have antibodies, we have viruses, bacteria. There's this constant state of struggle, constant state of good trying to overcome evil and evil trying to overcome good, light and darkness. So the internal battle is what's essential in the human being. If we look outside and we see human societies or governments or civilizations that are causing corruption or crime that's happening in society, the reason why this happens is because the individual himself has been overcome by evil inside of him. The only reason why there is badness outside and evilness outside is because the person inside himself has not overcome that bad side. So he reflects that. So in order to have a good community or a good human society, what we have to be focusing on is purifying and fixing the individuals in the community. Otherwise, you'll never have a good community. You'll never have a good society. If you focus on the outside problems and not deal with the core problem, then you're never going to be able to overcome this. So the focus has to be on the human being, through education, through reminding, through programs that would help individuals have a healthy childhood, healthy life, grow up in a healthy way. If they're healthy on the inside, they'll be healthy on the outside, and they'll be able to spread their love and spread their care, compassion, and whatnot in society. So this is why the Prophet ﷺ, after coming from a battle, and when you talk about a battle, you're talking about losing your life. Nothing could be imagined worse for a human being than losing his life. You go into battle and you think that this is the utmost responsibility that you can have, and the best achievement that you can have is that you participated in a battle, right? They come from the battle, and the Prophet ﷺ had a sentence ready for them, because he wanted the people to know that it's true that in this battle you've become victorious. You've defeated your enemy. But I don't want you to be too happy about that, because you might have overcome them in a physical battle on the outside. But there's a battle inside of you that you have to defeat and conquer and be victorious in, which is more important than this on the outside. The reason why I came as a messenger was to fix that. The outside is just a symptom. It's not the actual problem. And that's why he told them that you came back from Jihadul Akbar to from Jihad al-Asghar to Jihad al-Akbar. You came back from the minor struggle to the greater struggle. The minor struggle was this battle that you had on the outside. They asked him, وَمَا هُوَ الْجِهَادُ الْأَكْبَرُ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. And they're surprised. Like, all of this that we just did right now, we've been fighting and whatnot, and you're telling us that this was the minor struggle? Well, what is the greater struggle? What's greater than this? He said, jihadun nafs, the struggle on the inside of yourself. It would be much more difficult to defeat and conquer your inner enemy than it is on the outside. On the outside, you can just strike a blow and your enemy's gone. But on the inside, it's not as simple. You can't just punch your vices. You can't just get rid of them like that. It really requires struggle and strength. And this is why a lot of people nowadays especially are talking about mental health and talking about depression and talking about a lot of problems. It's a very difficult issue. If you have a problem on the outside with another country or society, you're able to do a peace treaty. You can resolve it in many different ways that are not so difficult. But internal issues, mental health issues, spiritual ailments, these are difficult to deal with. These require a lot of insight, a lot of studies, a lot of understanding of the human being and human psychology in order to know why humans are suffering from these. So the Imam here gives us remedies. And yesterday, we spoke about mercy as being one of the armies of intellect. A person who has mercy in his heart, who has this quality of being merciful towards other people, lives a much healthier mental and spiritual life. A person who is forgiving of other people, doesn't hold grudges. You hold a grudge, as long as it's in there, you're going to be suffering. Just let go of it. Not to the point of having people step over you, but in general, it's better to be merciful than it is to be someone who is angry and having hate towards other people in his heart. In one of our ziyaras to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, we describe him as Ya Rahmatullahi al-Wasi'ah, the vast mercy of God. Our Imams have been described as merciful individuals. And they've told us to be merciful if we want God to have mercy on us. You know, when it comes to our right, we're always more conservative, right? We commit a sin, and we tell God, God, please don't punish me with that sin. Forgive me. You're forgiving. You're merciful. You're a wonderful God. Please don't punish me like this. Because if you deal with me with your justice, then I'm going to be punished. So I'm asking you, don't use your justice against me. Use your mercy with me. But when something is done to us, somebody hurts us or somebody, harms us, we're not ready to let go of that. We say, no, this is against justice. It's not right to let people do this. And suddenly you want to maintain all these high standards, but really it's not justice that you're caring about. It's this ego that you want to feed. It's this pride that's been stepped on, and you want to maintain that pride, and you don't allow anybody to step on it. And this is a spiritual element. And that thing remains in the individual. Retaliation is a very, very bad thing in human beings for the most part. A person can keep something inside of himself for a year, 2, 3, and he'll never forget it until he retaliates. But throughout this whole time, this retaliation, this feeling for retaliation inside of a human being is burning him in the inside. It's harming him. It's causing him psychological knots and problems. The moment you let go of it, you feel better. And as human beings, we've all experienced this. And I'm talking about this, and everybody knows what I'm talking about because we experience the same things. Every day, we're struggling with our emotions. How do we wake up in the day, go throughout the day, without, suffering throughout that day emotionally? You go to work, you end up stressful. You come back home, you have a lot of stress. You wake up in the morning, you're thinking about your problems, your work, and everything in life, you're stressed. So when is the time where a human being is able to settle down and not have the stress? Why are people stressing out from everything? Well, it's because they don't have these spiritual virtues inside of them. The spiritual virtues that the Imam talks about are supposed to lead an individual to a stress-free life, to be able to let go of internal knots in his spirit. and therefore live a life free of these problems. When we come to the issue of anger, I want to quote a hadith to you by Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam al-Sadiq says that anger is the key that opens the door to all kinds of vices. So the 75 vices that Imam talks about in this hadith, and the 75 virtues, the key to opening all these vices is anger. The moment a person becomes angry and starts acting based on his anger, he will start seeing all the other vices reflecting inside of him. He's angry, he becomes hateful, he becomes vengeful, he wants to retaliate, he wants to hurt other people, he lies, and so on and so forth. Once you're angry, you lose your ability to control yourself. Every decision you make, every act you do, is most likely the wrong decision and the wrong act. So a lot of our problems might be stemming from our anger issues, the things that we're dealing with in life. Driving is a simple example. Somebody cuts in front of you, somebody passes by, and it's just a metal thing that's going in front of you. Why does a human being go crazy over this? Why does a human being react like an animal in a sense when a vehicle cuts in front of him? Okay, he cut in front of me, what's the big deal? You know, but it's difficult. It's easy to say, right? But just to let go of that feeling, like, oh, I can't let him do that. I gotta go cut in front of him. And if you look at it, it's insanity. It doesn't make any sense. If you're observing it from the outside, let's say an alien came and he's observing human beings, and he just sees these metal things, you know, cutting in front of each other. It doesn't have anything, it doesn't make any sense. It's insanity. And that's why in another hadith, the Imam says that anger, ضَرْبٌ مِنَ الْجُنُونِ, it's a part of insanity. If you become angry, you become an insane individual. If you record yourself when you're angry and see what you're doing, you'd be ashamed of yourself. You know, I probably don't want to watch myself when I'm angry. It's embarrassing, the things that we do. Yet we do it, and we don't do it rarely. Almost every single day, every one of us has his anger moments. And from anger, that fire that builds inside of you, that tension, for it to cool down. In another hadith, the Imam describes anger as an internal fire, and it causes heat. You know, when you put out a fire, the heat stays there, right? It doesn't just go out and it's cold now. No. Anger is not a state that comes in and goes out like without any repercussion or without any continuation. You begin with anger, and depending on your level of anger, you create an internal heat inside of you. So even if you stop being angry, you still feel it inside of you. And it's not a very pleasant feeling. So anger, in this sense, is a vice. And it causes a lot of other problems in the human being. The scholars of Islamic ethics and our ahadith, they gave remedies to help us with getting rid of anger. Now, there's a lot of different ways, depending on the context, depending on the circumstances, depending on how angry you are, on your personality, you deal with this issue differently. But the first step they say is that you have to sit down every single day. And this is not just for anger, this is for everything. Every person has to have a moment in his day where he sits down and just reflects on that day. We have so many ahadith where the Imam says to take yourself into accountability every single day. لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ لَمْ يُحَاسِبْ نَفْسَهُ فِي كُلِّ لَيْلَةٍ. The Imam is saying he's not even our follower. And you think the Imam is disassociating himself from you over not sitting down at night and thinking about what you did throughout the day? Yes. You become disassociated with the Imam. Well, from the Imam. If you don't think about why. Because if you don't do that, as human beings, if we don't sit down and reflect and think about our problems and think about what we've done throughout our day, then the next day we're going to wake up, we're going to do the exact same thing. And because of the human nature, the more we do something, the more difficult it is to get rid of it. So if you've been an angry person for 3 years, it's very different than developing an anger problem within the past week. And if you've been angry for 40 years, that's part of your personality now. How do you get rid of that? It's possible, but it's much, much, much more difficult. So because of the human state, the Imam is saying it's so important that you reflect on yourself every single day and every single night, because if you don't, then you're going to become someone who is evil by nature and someone that we don't want to have as part of our followers. You're not going to make us proud. You're going to make us look bad in front of other people. So the first method is to sit down every day. Think throughout your day, just for 5 minutes. I mean, we waste our time like no tomorrow. We sit down, we do the most ridiculous things in our lives, in our daytime. But sit down for 5 minutes, think about your day. Who did you talk to? What are the things that you think you did wrong in your day? What are the things that you think you could improve upon? So, did you fight with anybody? Think about what the problem was. Was your reaction a good reaction or no? So, a lot of people, especially in this pandemic, are resorting to, meditation, contemplation, and these things because they help. I mean, there's a lot of people attracted to this stuff. Why? What's so exciting about sitting down with certain poses and breathing? And, there's nothing, look at it on the outside, it's not really anything exciting. Then why are so many people doing this? Why are so many people attracted to this? Because it helps. Just sit down, clear your mind, focus on your breathing, focus on your thoughts, anything negative inside of you, try to remove, and try instilling positivity in yourself. So this is one thing that the Imams recommend every day for all remedies. The second thing is that when you're angry at someone and you're in the middle of a dispute, you should immediately stop yourself and get away from the situation until you calm down, you cool down, and then you might talk to the individual. Because if you're angry, there's no way on earth you're going to be saying something nice to that individual. And there's no way you're going to be fixing the problem. It just doesn't work. When you're angry, you say the most ridiculous things. And all you do, the more you talk, the more you make it worse. So it's best just to cut it off, move away, calm yourself down, figure out what happened, and then whenever you're ready, you go back and talk to that individual. But if you think that with anger you're going to solve any problem, that's not correct. It's never worked, and it'll never work. And the person that you're angry at, the more you're angry at them, the more they're going to have this negative attitude towards you. It just doesn't work. It's never worked for thousands of years. I don't know why we keep doing it as human beings. It's like we know since Adam until now, I have stories throughout different civilizations, whether it was Chinese civilization, Greek civilization, they're all talking about this anger issue. Look at Greek philosophy. Seneca has a whole book on anger. And this was thousands of years ago. And you would think we would have gotten rid of that problem by now as human beings. It's still the same thing. Somebody bothers you, you get angry at. And then fights happen, wars happen. There's a lot of wars that happen because one person got angry at another person. One person, not like a civilization or a group. Two people fought, civilization gone. Why? Because he was angry at him. It's crazy, unbelievable. So that's another issue. Another thing is never try to advise someone who's angry. I don't know if you guys have tried that, but it doesn't really work, does it? When they're angry, don't try to tell them, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. It's not good. It's going to become worse. If they're doing something wrong while they're angry, leave them. Let them finish what they're doing, unless it's killing someone or something, then you shouldn't let them finish what they're doing. If it's harming someone else, then you shouldn't. But advising them and trying to be Mr. Guru or Mr. Gandhi or something when you're dealing with this individual, that's not right. Even your spouse, your children, your friends. When they're angry, leave them. Let them get the anger out. And we have a hadith that the Imam says this. When you're advising someone, don't advise them when they're angry. It won't help. And in fact, they might even despise the advice that you're giving them. They'll have a negative reaction to it because you've associated the advice with their anger. So every time they think about it, they're going to have this negative reaction to it. This is rebellion. They don't want to do it. So leave them calm down, and then you can sit down with them and try to talk to them, understand them, try to see why they're angry, what happened, and try to resolve issues. Always try to resolve issues. Don't add to the problem. I'm going to finish off with 2 or 3 hadiths, inshallah, for tonight. We have a hadith by Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, anger is such that it destroys the heart of even the wise man. A person who is considered to be wise or good in his nature, anger would even destroy his heart as well. Why? Because in another hadith, the Imam says that anger ruins faith and ruins one heart just like vinegar ruins honey. That's what anger does. It ruins a person. Imam Ali says anger is the fire of the hearts. And in another hadith he says, in anger there is destruction. And it's a very short word. Imam Ali was known for this. He would give like 3-4 words. But really, if you think about it, so much wisdom in that, if we contemplate over it and try to apply it in our lives. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to revive our hearts, purify our hearts, allow us to treat others with mercy and love and forgiveness, especially in Muharram. We can use this as a time where we pledge to ourselves and we tell ourselves that from now on, I'm going to be a more positive individual, spread more love, spread more mercy around. بحق محمد وآل محمد والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى ابنك الحسين المظلوم الذبيح. يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة هذه الأمة. يا ليتنا ثم يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. يقول الشاعر دعبل الخزاعي بكيت لرسم الدار من عرفاتي. بكيت لرسم الدار من عرفاتي وأذريت دمع العين بالعبرات. وبان عرى صبري وهاجت صبابتي. رسوم ديار أفقرت وعراتي. أفاطم لو خلت الحسين مجدلا وقد مات عطشانا بشط فراتي. إذا للطمت الخد فاطم عنده وأجريت دمع العين في الوجنات. like a rose, like a rose I'll only grow to wither, like a rose I'll only grow to wither, without the life that you give me, Father. As the time came for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam to make his journey from the city of Medina towards the city of Mecca in a caravan that would never return home as it reached the land of Karbala, the Imam asked from all of his accompanying male family members to prepare the camels for the women of their families. Just in that moment, a tall man in his 30s emerged from the home with two women dressed in garments of modesty. The young man asked all present to make way as he humbled himself before the two women who accompanied him and began to aid them in the ride. Indeed, respected mourners of Imam al-Hussein, this young man was Al-Abbas, and in his company were his sisters Sayyida Zainab al-Kubra and Sayyida Kulthum. One by one, the sons of the Ahl al-Bayt appeared with their mothers, sisters, wives, and daughters. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam rode out towards the end of the quarters until suddenly a young girl began to run behind him calling out, "Father, O Hussein! Father, O Hussein! Abatahu ya Hussein! Please give me a second! Please give me a second!" Imam al-Hussein looked back. He seen his young daughter Fatima al-Alila running towards him. This young girl was to be kept with Salama, the Prophet's wife, and al-Baneen, Imam Ali alayhi salam's wife, because she was ill and too weak to travel. Imam al-Hussein rushed towards her on his feet and embraced her between his two arms. He told her, "My daughter Fatima, didn't I enjoin you to stay in Medina? My respected brothers and sisters." What did she answer him with? She said, "Father, Father, Father, when I went back to the rooms, I found them all empty without you. When I went to our homes, the homes of those in your caravan, I found them all empty and lonely without you. The world has become gloomy in my eyes. Please, Father, don't leave me here. Please, Father, don't leave me here all alone." Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam promised her that when he arrives where he is to stay, he will send her uncle Al-Abbas to come from her. He will send her uncle Al-Abbas to come for her. Fatima al-Alila told her, Father, myself tells me that he will not return." ينشد الشاعر السيد عبد الخالق المحنى. He pictures this setting, him and the poet Nuri Sardar, as if Fatima al-Alila is speaking to Imam al-Hussein at this time. لا ترد ما ظل أثر كل شي انتهى بسفركم لا ترد مات الورد من انقطاع خبركم لا ترد ما ظل أثر كل شي انتهى بسفركم لا ترد مات الورد من انقطاع خبركم كتبتي على داره دمعتي انتظارك كتبتي على داره دمعتي انتظارك Father, go to Mecca and no further. Father, go to Mecca and no further. Don't go to Karbala and say no further. Father, go to Mecca and no further. Don't go to Karbala and say no further. I'm scared Karbala will leave me with no father. I'm scared Karbala will leave me with no father. And I'm scared it will leave me an orphan daughter. Yes, she waited day and night for the Ahl al-Bayt to return, but with no return. She would wait with Salama and al-Baneen as they looked into a jar with dust from Karbala the angel Gabriel had given to Prophet Muhammad. This was one of the signs of the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein. Months would pass as Imam al-Hussein would be cut off from nearing the city of Kufa as he traveled there from Mecca because Yazid's governor threatened to kill the Imam in the sanctuary of the Kaaba even during Hajj. And so with no option given but to either bend to Yazid's falsehood and lose Islam or to be martyred and save it, the Imam set up his tents in the nearby land of Karbala. When he would reach that land, a guide would tell the Imam the names of that land one by one. Nainawa, Al-Ghadriyat, Al-Tufuf. And among its names was that which was derived from the words Karb, calamity, and Bala, tribulation. It is there that he set his tents, had access to water for 3 days, and would even provide water to the enemy's horses before his. Until, my respected brothers and sisters, the day came when the dust from Karbala with Salama, al-Baneen and Fatima al-Alila would turn to blood. Tragedy after tragedy followed. The Ahl al-Bayt, Zainab, Kulthum, Ruqayya, Khawla were beaten, whipped, and in captivity for 40 days. Over 6 months of loneliness had passed until the day when a crier by the name of Bishr would rush into the city of Medina, bringing news of the return of the orphan family of Imam al-Hussein. al-Baneen would go to Bishr and ask him, Bishr, tell me of my son Imam al-Hussein, tell me of my son Hussein. Bishr would offer her condolences for one of her sons martyred in Karbala, but not Imam al-Hussein. al-Baneen offered 4 sons along with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. He told her of Uthman, of Abdullah, of Ja'far, one martyr after another, until he said, may Allah make great your reward. May Allah make great your reward and your son Al-Abbas. When she heard that Al-Abbas had been killed, her entire being fell. A narration mentions that she was holding Al-Abbas's young child with her. The young child fell from her arms. And yet, my respected brothers and sisters, even in that state, she would say, but my son Hussein, tell me of my son Hussein. Respected mourners, Bishr then told al-Banin of what happened to Imam al-Hussein in the land of Karb and Bala, in the land of calamity and tribulation. Imam al-Hussein would forever burn in al-Banin, in Salama, and in Fatima al-Alila's hearts, as al-Banin wept for the Imam day and night, besides a model grave she made for him and his brothers, and as all the Ahl al-Bayt for eternity too. Reciting poetry, and as we join her too. Awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala. Together. Awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala. Louder. Awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala. I can't hear you. Awalah ya Karbala, 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 awalah ya Shaheed, awalah ya Gharib, awalah ya Mazlum, awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Gharib, awalah ya Shaheed, awalah ya Mazlum, awalah ya Hussein, awalah ya Karbala. Louder. Awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala, 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 Karbala. How lofty is your rank, Karbala, how lofty is your rank, Karbala, O land of all tribulation, Karbala, how lofty is your rank and station, Karbala, O land of all tribulation, Karbala, how lofty is your rank and station. Awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala, awalah ya Karbala. Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala ashab al-Husayn wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Let us pray for the Imam of our time, Imam Muhammad al-Mahdi. Allahumma kulli waliyika al-Hujjat ibn al-Hasan, صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. For the hastening of the reappearance of the Imam of our time, Imam Muhammad al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif, for the protection of all of our maraja', our scholars, and for all of the lovers, the followers, the Shia of Imam Ali alayhi salam, their living and their deceased. Please recite a Surah Al-Fatiha with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sent Brother Yunus, thank you very much. That concludes our program for tonight. Join us tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. sharp, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.